Alright, so I get a lot of questions about my engine dyno. I call it sort of a homemade setup. There's some purchase components in it. For the most part, we kind of put it all together ourselves. The heart of it is a Go Power DA512 water brake. Right now I don't have the bell housing on it, as you can see. So purchased that used, had to go through, put some new seals in it. Works really well still. For the dyno control, I use yourdyno.com. So this is just their basic dyno controller. So it does data logging and controls the dyno sweeps itself. Just this week we finished up rewiring this whole thing. Get a lot of questions about why I don't have it in a control cabinet rather than on this plastic board. I originally had this in a control cabinet, and every time you had to work on anything, anytime you had to do something, it just became a real pain in the butt. So we went with this setup here. Works really nice. We had to rewire it. We were getting a little bit of electrical interference on some of the sensors, so we went to all shielded cable just to try to get that noise out of it. So the yourdyno.com control box actually controls a stainless steel, see if I can't get a better picture of it, stainless steel butterfly valve that's run by a stepper motor with a little gearbox, 3D printed mount for that. So that supplies and controls water to the water brake itself. And then the yourdyno box actually controls that valve to control the load on the motor. As you can see, we have self-contained fuel system, little 5-gallon fuel cell here, fuel pressure regulator. We can run carbureted or fuel injected motors, self-contained battery. The cool thing that we upgraded this time, we went to this KM-tronic USB relay board. So instead of having mechanical switches on the control desk, we actually can use hotkeys on the keyboard on the computer. So this will run the starter, the fuel pump, and the ignition system. Over here we have a power supply for the stepper motor and our 5-volt power supply, which sends power to all of our 5-volt sensors, so water temp and oil pressure. On here we have, like I said, this is the basic yourdyno control system. So we have 3 0 to 5 volt inputs. I don't know if I can get a shot of that. So 3 0 to 5 volt inputs. So we have water temperature, oil pressure, and a wideband O2 sensor on there. On the other side of the board, we have an MSD 6AL2 ignition box, and for engine RPM pickup, we're actually using this little opto isolator. So that is reading the tack wire out of the MSD 6AL2. If I'm running a GM engine with an HEI distributor, we can just connect the tack signal from the GM HEI distributor right to that opto isolator, and then that sends a signal to our yourdyno box. For a water supply, I have a 5 horsepower 3-phase pool pump. Run it off of this little variable frequency drive, so I can actually adjust the speed of the pump. So if we have a pretty low horsepower motor, like 150 to 200 horsepower motor, we'll actually turn that water pump down a little bit. Going back to the tank outside, we have this little return filter. It's actually an irrigation filter that basically just catches any garbage that could be in the engine, just so we're not contaminating the water supply. And as you can see, this is in basically the middle of my garage. So this whole thing is made to be portable, so it's on wheels. We have adjustments on the caster wheels. So once we get a motor on there, we can actually level it, make sure that the carburetor's level. The nice part about this setup is when I'm not using it, I can shove it back in the corner and get it out of the way and have the space available. And as I said before, I use yourdyno.com control system and software. So this is my little control desk that I have. So there is a mechanical throttle cable that runs up overhead that's mounted to the ceiling. And then the yourdyno.com box feeds into a USB cable. Because we're about 15-20 feet away, I actually have that go into an Ethernet cable, and then the Ethernet cable comes back to a USB into the laptop itself. The other cool part is that with yourdyno.com, it saves all the raw data, so I can come back in here. Obviously I don't have a motor on here right now. I can come back in and replay some of these runs. So I'm going to choose this one, and you can actually watch it replay. And then it gives you the splash screen of max power, max torque. That run there was from a small block Ford, 306 cubic inches, aluminum heads, hydraulic roller cam. Pretty nice little setup. Really nice street motor. There you can see the graph. So that's a little bit about I'm going to call it a homemade dyno setup. Again, I just have it here in my garage. Works really well, very consistent. We can overlay runs within 1 horsepower of each other back to back. Not the cheapest thing ever to get into, but it's definitely affordable for the home unit. Just for things coming ahead, I believe the next motor that we're going to have on the dyno is this big block Chevy. It's a 496 stroker. We are waiting on some valve spring seats for the heads. Here's the heads. We did valve job. Have all the springs and everything sitting here, just waiting on that one part to complete that, and then we'll be able to throw that on the dyno. The other project that we're working on is my personal motor out of my 62 Chevy pickup. Just took the heads off. We ended up breaking a lifter on 6th summer, so I finally got the motor apart, got the heads out. We're going to do a little bit more porting on those heads. We got to get those washed up. They're in the wash tank right now. And then I just finished up taking apart the new short block for it. So it is another crusty high mileage 6-liter. So we will have to get that cleaned up. Got a new cam coming. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit more port work on the heads. So we'll detail some of that work as we go. All right, the other cool project I've been working on lately is this set of cylinder heads for a Pontiac 301. I always envy the guys who got to do the old Chevy small blocks back in the 50s and 60s, and the big blocks where they were trying to figure out what worked with cast iron factory heads. So this is kind of my forte into that, because pretty much nobody works on Pontiac 301 heads. If they do, it's just a factory kind of rebuild. So customer came to me, friend of mine actually came to me who kind of specializes in Pontiac 301s, said, hey, I want to make more horsepower. So we took this project on, started working on these heads. So what all went into it, we went from a 172 intake valve to a 184. And then with that, we sized the throats appropriately and went ahead and reworked the short turn. Most of your gain and head porting is going to be in that short turn. Just a little trick that I always find, I take a piece of TIG wire and I actually put it on the short turn, kind of mold it to the short turn. Then when I pull it out, I can actually see the shape of that short turn. So if I'm looking at this, I actually want to cut this kind of this apex, I want to lay that back as much as I can. With a factory casting like this, sometimes it's hard because there is water underneath here. You can kind of see this water port here. So there is water on the back side of here, so we can't go too far. Went through, unshrouded the chamber a little bit. Did start with a 3-angle valve job that has a 35-degree top cut, 45-degree seat, and then a 60-degree bottom cut. We actually used a 5-angle cutter on there. There is just a hint. I don't think you can see it in the picture or in the camera, but there is just a hint of the 75-degree cut left there once we size the throats. Still waiting on the exhaust valves to finish up the exhaust valve job. Once we get that done, we will be just doing one final flow test, make sure that all the ports are the same. And then these will actually be going on the dyno. The customer is going to be bringing over a motor. He has the cam in it. We're going to be testing the stock heads versus these modified heads. So should be pretty cool. Keep an eye out for that. Should be happening hopefully in the next couple weeks. Seems to be parts availability is a little bit slow right now. So that's kind of the name of the game lately, and that's what we've been waiting on. All right, after my rambling about what we got going on in the shop here, back to the dyno. If there's any questions on it, let me know. Like I said, somewhat homemade, but also went with some purchased components like the water brake. Water brake being balanced is a big thing. I actually started this whole project probably 10 years ago. Actually made my own water brake all out of steel, and it worked pretty well. I did not have this control system on it, so controlling the dyno was a little bit interesting. And then the dyno, the water brake was not balanced, so going with this Go Power unit is a much better setup. All right, if anybody has questions, let me know. I will answer any comments that you put out there. Thanks.